You're with Julian on the Brenner and a review of the movie Fall. And like the previous review of Samaritan, it's going to be a blunt instrument because I don't have my phone or any connection to the internet. So all of those juicy things like who's the director and the stars has gone out the window, particularly as this is a low-budget indie film where none of the people in it are famous or have done any other films, or at least nothing major. This was picked up by a distributor and re-edited a bit to remove uses of the F word because they saw something in it that could likely cross over, and I can see exactly what that was. It's quite a striking low-budget film. Although the use of freaking in it, so I was waiting for that word to come up. I can't believe that they would have to actually do that to get a lower rating so that more people could see it. So it is a climbing movie, or at least a semblance of a climbing movie. So at the start, you get the cliffhanger sort of intro. Two girls and a guy are climbing this horrible mountain. Do you know what? I actually had a couple of films to watch on Friday night, and this was third choice because I hate heights so much. And the other two films didn't work for me, so I actually ended up watching this through gritted teeth. I was really not happy. It starts with these three climbing on this horrible cliff face, and one of them's the husband to one of the two girls, and he looks the part of a Lothario from the word go, and he promptly falls to his death. You wind forward a year, and the woman that was a husband, they're both in their look like they're in their early 20s. The wife, or the widow, has become an alcoholic and pushed everyone away. And dad, who's relatively famous, again, I wish I could tell you who. The guy from The Walking Dead, I believe. The only remotely famous person in it. He's trying to reach through to her, and she just spends her whole days, ringing her dead husband's phone for a voicemail message. Her friend that was with her on the mountain turns up after a year of absence. She spent her time risking death for YouTube likes and trying to become, famous on the internet by climbing up impossible towers and the like, and says, I've got this thing for you to do to break through your grief, which is we're going to climb this TV tower in America. And I found this whole concept rather interesting because a lot of these towers are taller than any man-made skyscrapers, and this the one that it pretends to be something it isn't, but the one that it actually is based on, I think it's the seventh tallest structure built by humans in history, and probably the tallest in American history. Something like 2,000 feet tall, and it is just like the width of those spiral staircases, not much more than that, going up 2,000 feet and broadcasting TV channels across the desert in California. She says no, but of course she ends up going, and they head off into the middle of the desert into this sort of blocked zone where you're not allowed near it because people like base jumpers try and use it all the time. And it's a very iconic looking endeavor. I mean, this huge structure going up into the sky, incredibly narrow, really terrifying. I don't know if you remember the Star Trek movie where they had that, when they were drilling into the Earth's core and they were sort of skydiving down this enormous tower. Got a bit of a vibe of that about it. So obviously things don't go very well. They climb up the tower, and that's when they're right at the top on this plinth, and I was pleasantly surprised by how little I was hiding behind my hands at this stage. But then, chasing selfies too many, they destroy the ladder down. So all they've got is this slippery pole all the way down, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of feet, impossible to climb down, and they're stuck on this tiny plinth, 2,000 feet up. And that's really the whole movie, is what happens from that point on. Which is it's a two-hander. It's it's the borderline aspect here is that you could make it into a stage play. Given even though the location itself is so vast, if you manage to use a bit of nous in a a production in a stage, you could recreate their environment because it's, you know, smaller than the average room. So it's got good reviews. It's got a lot of good reviews, and it's got quite a few bad reviews. And I must admit, I found myself disagreeing with most of the complaints that they had about this film. The idea of the romance, it being a love triangle, and them finding out when they're 2,000 feet up in the air, I twigged that from the first second. It was so uninteresting that the husband was this, you know, Lothario. I picked it up straight away. But the thing is, they don't really dwell on it at all. I mean, some of the reviews said like it's, you know, got this melodramatic telenova romance angle. It comes up, but not very much. It's, you know, a lot of films would have milked this as their main selling point. It comes up and it passes pretty quickly. And the other one was, you know, it's too long. I didn't find it too long at all. They said, oh, it dwells on the, you know, there's only so many ways you can show people hanging off of things. I didn't think it dwelt on climbing that much, and I didn't feel like it dwelt on them, you know, perilously hanging off of things too much either. It kind of came across like a Waiting for Godot in the sky. It was really them talking more than anything, and sort of, you know, getting through each hour, which I found really interesting. And the final third really picked up and had some, you know, some pretty good stuff, really exciting stuff happening in the final third, and it relied on dialogue a lot more than action, I thought. So I thought it did a lot of things really well, and I don't agree with a lot of the criticism of it. I thought the director was really good, the editing was good, the screenplay and the visuals were good. It had a really strong atmosphere because there was no soundtrack. It didn't rely on any soundtrack. Wasn't too long. I thought it built nicely over the course of the runtime. So the final third was all lit up by some pretty striking stuff. The only real complaint filmmaking wise I've got is the actual end itself is far too fast. We needed it happens in like a minute, and we needed another 10 minutes on top to sort of wind down. You don't get the satisfaction you think you're going to get. So you know, I've mentioned about the Jurassic World having Bryce Dallas in it and heaving bosomed heroines. You get 2 heaving bosomed heroines for the twice the one in this film. And I thought they were both excellent. I thought both the actresses in this were great. No one else is, you know, relied on in the whole film. So I thought it was really good, and it did make me put my hands in front of my face in that final third of the film. So I'm going to give it an 8 to Fall out of 10. 8 out of 10 for Fall.